Who am I? I'm a software engineer working at Harness in the community engineering team. I've been in the release team of Kubernetes for 3 cycles, 1.24, 1.25, 1.26. If you're using Kubernetes, I think today we had an outage. Registry.kts.io was not working. I think it is mitigated now. I was a mentee for Kiosk Mess Linux Foundation project, and in 2022, I mentored few of my mentees under Kubernetes project. So let's start. In today's topic, we have 2 things, Harness and Backstage. Let's start with the first word. What is Harness? Harness is a modern software delivery platform that helps in continuous integration, continuous delivery. We have modules which help you managing your software delivery lifecycle. You build your code, test your code, get the vulnerabilities, your management sees how much cloud cost you're spending, everything in one module. That's what Harness does. What is Backstage? It's a trending open source project now. Recent days it has been on trend. It was created at Spotify, donated to CNCF. Now, if you are aware about CNCF landscape, CNCF takes a lot of projects. It puts them in sandbox. If you show potential, they get you into incubation, and then you graduate. Kubernetes, Argo, all are graduated CNCF projects, and Backstage is one of the incubated projects that's going to graduate soon. So what does Backstage does is like it's an open platform for building developer portals. So it has created a standard how you build your developer portals. Now we'll see more on what is developer portals and why it is so important in today's world. So basically developer portal, as I think, how many of you are developers who write code every day? Okay. So see, I can understand, see, I am a developer as well. We have a pretty much pain of not only writing the code, but see how it runs on a local, then on PR environment, pre-QA, and all those things. To make it successfully run at the environment that we want, we have to manage services, we have to manage a lot of things. So what does this developer portal brings to you is a one front end for your entire infrastructure. So these days, there are a lot of toolings that has come up to make your work easier. What happens with tools is once you start using a tool, let's say you start using Kubernetes, at some point you hit a roadblock. Now to get over that roadblock, you get another tool. And that tool hits you another roadblock. You make tool after tool after tool. So we have a lot of tools. We get a lot of data. It makes our work easier, no doubt. But how do we manage them? Like developers just hate to go to a third-party vendor site and let's say PagerDuty. There's an incident, you have to go to PagerDuty, or you might have a Slack channel where the PagerDuty notification pings, but the details are in the PagerDuty site itself. You have to go to there and check the incident itself. So with this developer portal, all your tooling, services, app, data, and docs. For me, when I joined my company, all our docs were in Confluence. It's okay with onboarding, it's okay, but when you go start working, you have dependency on multiple services. You have dependency on service B that is owned by a team B, and you don't know anything about it. Once you have some errors, dependency, you come and you ask in your channel. We have something called help engineering. We go and ask, hey, who owns this service? I have an error. See, that reply might come swiftly, or it might take few minutes or an hour. So that's a blocker. You are there to write code. You are there to do the work that you want to do creatively, that is to build systems. But getting hit by infrastructure, by not being aware of what is there, who owns this, that has been a problem. So basically, you get everything, like all your ecosystem data, regardless of how and where the individual components are running, you have it in your developer portal. And yeah, it helps developers focus on what they do the best. So let me show you how it looks. So you see, this is Backstage. There is a catalog inside, a software catalog inside a Backstage instance. This is kind of thing which we use internally. You could see there is a card for GitHub Actions where I could see the GitHub Actions running on my repositories, all the pull requests that I authored, and all the pull requests that I need to be reviewed by me. Any pull request that mentions me are here. There is the Jira plugin that gives you information about your project. I work on something internal developer portal inside our company, so this gives us information about those. And there is this PagerDuty plugin that helps me to look at the incident, any change events, also to create incident on this portal. So so I talked about 3 software: GitHub, Jira, and PagerDuty. What is more important here is the view that I get. It is quite personalized for me, for my team, or for an individual developer. other teams might be using other repository, they will get the information that they require. See, every company these days, they have their own portal where you find a list of APIs, list of docs, everything, but it is never personalized for an individual developer. Your team might have a docs that is not accessible to other team. If it is accessible, they come and they don't understand. Now this creates a standard. How do you build this? How do you maintain this? And how do you make it accessible to all? Let's go back to the slides. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you. That is very interesting here. So yeah, you talked about if you want something other than Jira and all, that is where integrated tooling via plugins comes into play. There is something called plugin marketplace in Backstage, where you could build your own plugins, or you might be a company, you have a vendor who is using your product and they might, they have Backstage instance, they can build the plugin for your company and they can use that. What is important is most of the plugins are available in marketplace. I'll show you the Backstage marketplace. You will get a more idea of what I'm. Yeah, you see all the plugins here. There is Argo CD plugin. Even for Harness also, we started with 2 plugins for our modules, because that's where we started using Backstage, because our customer came to us and say, hey, we are using Backstage. What to do now? We want Harness, CI/CD. We started with feature flags and CI/CD, and you would see there are a lot of things like from Grafana to GoCD, all this. And when you go to explore, you find all the information, how to install this, how do you use this. These are very simple steps. Basically, plugins are NPM packages, so it's very easy to pull them and use it. And if you want some more features in it, it's just a pull request away. Yeah. So how do we do it? How Backstage knows what it needs to show you, what basically your team owns. That is all done through service definitions. These are YAML metadatas, where you declare, type, what is this type, it is a service, in which life cycle, whether it's in experimental or prod, who is the owner. Basically, there is an owner linking, like who owns this service. This service has a dependency on service B, service C, service D, all the ownership graph you get in Backstage. And when I was talking about integrated tooling via plugins, yeah, that's what. You have a Kubernetes plugin, you have a cost insights plugin, you have a lot of plugins. Name a plugin, you have it in Backstage. So yeah, how do we start it? So a lot of our customers, came around and said, as I said, like they wanted use Harness inside the developer portals that is based on Backstage. We're like, what is this Backstage? So when we heard that it is open source and you could control how your plugins are made, they can contribute what they want to see in your plugin, that was very interesting for us. And we have been hearing for some of our customers, if not for Backstage, they are trying to use some internal developer portals that is built around Backstage. And yeah, as I said, every developer portal is unique, because every developer works on different, like your team works on different material and other teams work on different systems. So the developer centric view for your team will be different than the other team. What has been done till now is every company has a single developer portal. We can't call them developer portal because they just have a bunch of information. That's it, not organized. Here you get a unique view. As I said, your ownership, you know what you own and what do you need to maintain. And there is a paper by Gartner where they say by 2025, 75% of the orgs will have developer portals. Why? Because developer efficiency or developer effectiveness at this point of time is very important. Especially in this economic condition, everyone wants to do more with less number of resources. And this is where this developer portals comes into play. So now let's understand how, let's take an example of how this works. I will give you an example in my company. What happens if I want to create an account in our GCP? I have to go put a Jira SecOps. There is a SecOps team. Under that SecOps, I have to put a Jira ticket, get an approval, CC my manager. He will approve that, and these people will create the account for me. What happens now? There is something called software templates in backend. So in that template, you just need to fill the name. Obviously, your team is already known to Backstage, and it will create an automatically Jira ticket. It will create a Jira ticket. It will assign it to your manager, and your manager will get a notification of it. And as soon as he approves, your account is created. There is no human intervention. So platform engineering team or the SecOps team now have to maintain that YAML or the software templates. They don't have to come manually and do this work anymore. And for developers, we are basically the consumers. Inside a company, the basic customer for any developer portal is obviously the developer. And even sometimes infrastructure provisioning, you need a cluster as soon as possible. You need to go to your DevOps SRE team, hey, spin me this cluster, I have an emergency. It's okay. There is a ticketing system. These people work manually, efficiently, no doubt. But in case when we want it, we never want it in a timely manner. There might be requirements that might come now. So templatizing everything in software catalogs and having them in software templates gives you a unique understanding of how these things work, and it is easy. And one more thing, the way you create your services and components, there needs to be a standard. Companies are struggling, like lot of microservices we have. How do you spin up those microservices? Standard is not maintained because it is done manually by people. So with this Backstage, you could maintain the standard because it's all templates is like a Google form. You fill the form, voila, you have it. So while building those templates, companies could ensure, okay, the standard is maintained, the security protocols that we need to follow is followed. We talked a lot about internal developer portal, why do we need portals, and why Backstage? Why not any other tool, or why not we build it on our own based on these ideas? Backstage, first, it is open source. Second, at this point of time, why Backstage is very easy to answer, because it has been used by companies who have been known for their best engineering processes. Netflix uses Backstage, United Airlines uses Backstage, Spotify uses Backstage, Apple uses Backstage. So that is, I think, enough credibility. Even VMware for the Tanzu Grid, the front end is based on Backstage. So it's open source. There is a good maintainer, maintainers are quite active. It's a thriving community in Discord, and there is also support channel which is quite active here. So with Backstage, what happens is you don't have the fear of losing around. Like you build some technology and you see after some years a draconian change happened or paradigm shift is happening in developer portals. If any paradigm shift has to happen in how we build developer portals, it will happen in Backstage only. Yeah. So of all the things we discussed, let's summarize them. Backstage will help you to create new software, as I said, in seconds through software templates. Manage all the software you own in one centralized location. As I said, you log into your developer portal, you see all your softwares, everything at one place, and explore the entire ecosystem. This I like very, very much. As I said, you have service A, service B, or let's say suppose there are tools, a lot of tools your companies use. Now you want to use a specific tool that is used by another team in your company. Now, essentially, what do? You are never aware about the definite use case that team uses. So you need to go and ask someone or read a docs that you might not understand because it's on their use case. They might have done a POC and you will start doing the same POC. With things that is in this portal, you could go to their portal and see what they are doing or at what part of the service they own and how they manage their services or using these tools. So yeah, plugins. This is quite interesting, and this is what I want to focus on, because this gives you the plug and play thing. You want more features, you want more tools to be supported by Backstage, build a plugin, your tool is supported. It is like, it makes easier to develop and contribute for your dev portal. We have cloud agnostic and vendor neutral. Why we say cloud agnostic? There is something called Kubernetes plugin, which is, I think, the core feature of Backstage. So it is also a plugin. All the core features of Backstage are also a plugin. That is, I think, that is very, when Spotify started, they had this mindset, let's build everything around plugin. So it's a plug and play. If you don't want a core feature, throw it out. You use what is necessary to you, or you want to build another core feature, fork it and build it. Then yeah, so what does the plugin does? It is customized for an infrastructure, and as I was talking, plugins are NPM packages. Basically, you can, I can show you how these NPM packages look like. So yeah, so you see Harness Backstage CI/CD plugin is on an NPM package, and you could do this yarn add, yarn install, and there is something called app config where this metadata, YAML metadata is there. You could add under proxy and entity page.txx that contains all the UI of Backstage. It is not only for Harness plugins. All of the plugins you will see, majorly you have to change two things, app config and entity page. And sometimes people try to follow the best practices. You don't have to change even app config. You add things in your environment variables and just mention things in your catalog. Okay, let's go to the top. Cool. So that's so, and there are plugins. There are front-end plugins, back-end plugins. The plugins I show you, the PagerDuty or the Jira plugins, those are all front-end plugins. Then there are back-end plugins which you don't see, let's say the Kubernetes plugin. It's a back-end plugin. And as I said, the core features are plugins too, like the software template, software catalog, Kubernetes plugin, searcher tool. All are plugins inside Backstage. So this is you could access it on your laptop as well. It is demo.backstage.io. This is something that has been given by the Spotify itself. What I'll show you is this cost insights. This is one of my favorite plugins. So you see the cost overview here can be converted to engineers, US dollars, carbon offset, beers, and the pints of ice cream. So what I want to emphasize here is there are a lot of tools in market. Even Harness also has a CCM plugin which helps you to understand how you manage your cloud cost. So some tool might be giving you a particular level of information, like here you see convert to number of engineers, convert to US dollars. You might be getting the cost insights only in US dollar. There might be another tool which might be giving you in terms of engineering value proposition in terms of engineering. So now you need to go to both the tools, or if you build a custom dashboard fetching data through APIs from this tool, you have it in one place. But you could build out a plugin using both these tools and have it in Backstage itself. And you see like breakdown by product, and you see your so this is a very typical use case of what a cloud cost insights management system does. But what is essential here is you could integrate multiple toolings in a single place, and that is possible through a plugin. You could build your plugins, and one thing I forgot to tell was your plugin need not to be a single tools based. You could build a plugin that could have integration for Jira, PagerDuty, or any tools, Grafana, Dashboard, Prometheus, everything in one plugin, plug and play. So yeah, and let's go to the Harness. How do we use it? So if you see Harness plugins, we have the CI/CD plugin. So today, the basic information I need. These are the latest runs that has happened as I'm giving this talk. You could see the time there. That is 3/7. The talk happened. And no, it's like 3 minutes ago. So you see, I see the pipeline name, pipeline status, and the details of services. If I want to see the logs, which we are again trying to build it inside this plugin as well. Presently, to view the logs, you have to go to the Harness. It redirects you to the logs page of Harness, and you could see what is your error. But the use case that we see from here is we will also display the logs here. So as a developer, you put a PR, you come to your Backstage, you see your recent PR, and you see the services on which the PRs is running and its status, whether it is running or not, and the recent logs. That's it. That's how we are trying to make it useful for developers. And you could also rerun the pipelines. This is the only write access we have for this plugin. What help does it does is like developers doesn't need to go to here, because it's not developers who go and set up your pipelines. It's your SRE teams, and let the SRE team handle that on the Harness side, or let's say you are using Circle CI or GitHub Actions. Let them handle that. Developer, they need to know what happened wrong in the logs. They can find it and they can change that thing. So it all happens for them in a single portal, and that's what is quite useful in this scenario. Yeah, so the plugins basically are a bunch of API calls. Now, what exact information you want to get from that API, you write the logic in the plugins, and it might be different for different teams. So you give options as well. But it's essentially all the plugins you will see are a bunch of API calls. Yeah, it's customized for developers. Yeah, so that is on, say, plugins have OAuth. So if you have auth enabled, like there are some plugins which needs auth, like GitHub, you need to log in. Otherwise, what companies do is they ingest the user data on their own. If you ingest the user data, put your own RBAC, it is you have it on your own figured out in a way, and then you use it. Otherwise, every time you ask the developer to log into the portal, but it's a single time. Once you log in, the session goes on, it stays. So what is interesting is to build this plugin, this whole plugin setup, you don't have to write the code from scratch. There is something called create new inside yarn create new. I'll show you that. not parameters. You just give the name of the plugin and it will create a plugin. See, yarn new select plugin. There is the command you need to run, and you will get a some basic plugin like thing. Yeah. Then you go and change things what you want inside that code base. So you go to Reddit or you go to let's say Hacker News or anywhere, you will find a lot of outage. Like you will hear companies saying we hired 12 developers. We tried to make Backstage work in our company, but it didn't happen because Backstage is complex. Your developers need to learn TypeScript to write the plugins because that is what is suggested. You could write a plugin in Go, but then it's on you. And when I say all are plugin based, if you want to delete a plugin that is core plugin and you want to build on your own, that is quite complex and it takes a lot of engineering resources. So what companies do is like that's what our customers told us is like see hands up. We tried. One of our customer, I can't take the name, but he came and they told us that we tried Backstage a lot, we failed. Do you have any offering for Backstage and all? So we are now coming up with offering from our internal use case. It's not, it might be beta this month, but yeah, not sure of that. But yeah, you need a good engineering capability with good understanding of architectures and basically the people who understand TypeScript. Yeah, React is used, but mostly it's a React app only at the end of the day. Yeah, it's all, see, again, the UI type of plugins might be different. Like you see here in this, Cost Insight is a single page plugin. Then there are, these are, Jira is a card based plugin. So that thing you can manage, whether you want to see it as a card or whether your team, your developers want to see it as a single page, it's up to you. And as I said, the entity page.tsx, there is, I think the code is not visible properly, otherwise I would have shown an entity page.tsx, you have overview page, service entity page, everything. So you just mention that inside that, that works. Yeah. So see, you don't have to manage the Backstage anymore. Like, so if you build the internal developer portal on Backstage, all the Backstage releases that happens, we manage that for you. You don't, like the similar Kubernetes is open source. How does AWS, GCP and Azure benefit from it? At the end of the day, you don't have to manage Kubernetes. Like recently, I think Kubernetes did that registry change. We migrated from the previous registry to registry.kubernetes.io. So companies who use AWS, GCP, they don't have to worry about it. So similar is the case. You don't have to worry about managing. So managing is difficult. That's what. The more and more plugins you build, like in a company like Spotify, they had around 150 to 200 plugins. That's a small company. Yeah. So let's go on. What did we learn from this? For us, the basic question is, see, building plugins is easy. As I saw you, yarn create new, select plugin. You have a plugin, but what value it does add for an individual developer or for a team, it is a difficult question to answer. And you will get usage from an individual developer as well. Hey, I need this. Some developer view, like developer centric view, which we give might be suitable for the team, but the individual developer might have a different taste. So you have to, when you are trying to cater to individual developer, there is always, this question, what value does it add? How does it value add to me? Some developers might be comfortable going to the, going to the PagerDuty and looking at it, not creating an incident inside Backstage. So then that has to be inculcated in your engineering processes to make these things work. Secondly, as I said, yeah, making APIs truly a platform. This is very interesting. Much of our enhancements in our API, internal APIs that we use, came because we started to use plugins. We wanted some of our internal plugins to work on XAPI key rather than session tokens, which were not possible earlier. We identified because we started building the plugins, which might have come up as an customer request, came out as an internal request. So yeah, it's a good way that you enhance your own platform, own internal plugins, how your data is getting fetched outside of your platform, and how do you manage that. So yeah, APIs and our performance of our APIs have increased drastically since we started building these plugins. Yeah, so we have these modules. These are our modules: CCM, STO, SRM, feature flag, CI/CD. So CI/CD and feature flags presently we have, and you ask this question: how does Harness benefit? So commercial IDP, we are planning like Backstage as a service with the added benefits of Harness platform, and that builds your own IDP. You customize your IDP, but management part, leave it on us. But I don't know if it is coming as a commercial yet, because we use it internally. It might be a commercial, it might not be a commercial. This QR code leads you to our Backstage plugin repository. If you want to go to that repository, look into, suggest something, you're free to do that. PRs, yeah, if you're not a Harness customer at present, it doesn't make any sense for you. But yeah, you could take a look on how we build the plugins. It's all open. Even our work in progress PRs are open there. So yeah. Any more questions? I think I'm done with what I